Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Kathleen Levito, and I'll be your host for today's webinar titled Build a Strong Portfolio to Reach Your Investment Goals. Joining me today is Matt Hicks, Relationship Manager for AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust. We'll conclude this presentation with a question and answer series. If you have a question, please feel free to reach out to us by phone or email. This monthly webinar series is brought to you by AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust. Our vision is to ensure the financial security and independence of members of the Armed Forces community, active, retired, honorably discharged service members, and their families. We accomplish this by being the premier provider of financial planning, investment management, and trust services for all branches of the military. We are AAFMAA's trust company. AAFMAA stands for American Armed Forces Mutual Aid Association. AAFMAA, created in 1879, is the longest-standing not-for-profit association exclusively serving the military. We empower military families with affordable financial solutions. AAFMAA focuses on the needs of military families and provides innovative, personalized, and lifestyle-appropriate financial decisions. We accomplish this by being the premier provider of financial planning, investment management, and trust services for all branches of the military. We are AAFMAA's trust company. AAFMAA stands for American Armed Forces Mutual Aid Association. AAFMAA, created in 1879, is the longest-standing not-for-profit association exclusively serving the military. We empower military families with affordable financial solutions. A key point that sets AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust apart from other companies is that we are a fiduciary. What that means is we have a legal obligation to act in your best interest and for your benefit. One important disclaimer before we begin this month's webinar. The information presented herein was compiled from sources believed to be reliable. This presentation is for educational purposes and is furnished without responsibility for completeness or accuracy. Its general information is not specific investment, legal, or tax advice for any individual. Do not rely on this presentation alone to guide your financial planning decisions. Since each individual situation is unique, your needs for financial services will differ. For individual advice, please contact us directly. We produce this webinar series in-house with our own professional staff as a service to our members and help them better understand the resources that are available to them. I'll now turn it over to Matt to begin the presentation.
Good afternoon. My name is Matthew Hicks, Relationship Manager with AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust. The goal of today's webinar is to give AAFMAA members an understanding of how our complementary portfolio analysis can help you build a more secure financial future through an in-depth review of your current investments, your long and short-term investment goals, and your risk tolerance. The partnership you enter into with AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust is one that takes into account that no portfolio should remain in the same investment vehicles without an evaluation of the instruments and current market conditions, which may affect the returns generated by your investments. As we all know, we are starting to see interest rates shift upwards. Are your investments taking this into account? It has been many years since people have had to consider the effects of rising interest rates on their portfolio. The AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust Portfolio Review can be a tool which helps you see where the changes may affect your returns, possibly your short and long-term plans. We center our investment philosophy on doing the right thing for you. We base decisions on a patient, long-term perspective. The most single important determinant of the investment success lies in properly matching your asset allocation to your tolerance for short-term market volatility. While we believe firmly in the power of a long-term focused and properly allocated portfolio, we are also keenly aware of the need to mitigate risk whenever possible. Our investment process relies on the application of diversification strategies within your portfolio. By dividing a portfolio among carefully selected asset classes, you can maximize a potential return at the risk level you are willing to accept. The concept of risk and one of its primary components, volatility and return, can never be overstated when selecting investments. As you can see at the lowest part of the graph, when it comes to risk versus volatility, an all equity portfolio has the highest returns for the assumption of risk in your portfolio. Your AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust Relationship Manager and our portfolio managers will help you select and structure a portfolio which best suits your needs, both in the long and the short term. The partnership you have with AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust is one that never sits still. Your investment goals change over time, and AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust fiduciary responsibilities include constantly verifying the quality, suitability, costs, and performance of the investment vehicles selected for all AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust vehicles. We fine-tune each portfolio according to your needs and our understandings of your goals. Each investment vehicle recommended for an AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust client is scrutinized using the criteria we've illustrated here. The more information that you provide us, the better understanding we will have of your goals and needs, short and long term. As you fill out our risk tolerance questionnaire, you will note we have left a good deal of space for you to write in any information you think we should take into consideration. No information is insignificant. Are you planning to travel, help your children buy their first home, pay for a grandchild's college? Are you confident you have enough cash to deal with any potential emergency or unexpected issues? Why have you invested the way you have in the past? Is investments picking a hobby for you? No information is insignificant. Some people may consider the structure of an investment portfolio to be like building your dream home from the ground up versus buying an existing structure. The existing home is one that meets your basic needs. The dream home is your idea of exactly what you want, how you want it, and where you want it, right down to the manufacturer of the shingles, the electrical outlets, and the faucets. While you may have a vision of what your dream home looks like, most of us don't have the skill set to bring the dream alive. The same is true for building an investment portfolio. In both cases, we hire an architect to take the concept to reality. For your portfolio, we want you to tell us what your goals are, what you want to achieve, and how aggressively we will need to pursue growing the portfolio. Like the architect building your house, we're going to build a portfolio to your specifications. Every piece of data you give us is taken into consideration. We all know that plans can change for any number of reasons. That is why AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust will review your portfolio, sometimes recommending adjustments to meet the needs and changes in your life and your concept of a proper investment portfolio. As I mentioned earlier, the portfolio review process starts with our risk tolerance questionnaire. Portfolio construction is a combination of science and art. The art behind the construction of the portfolio comes from what each client tells us about themselves. As I said, no detail is too insignificant or unimportant to help us understand what your goals are. There are 12 questions that make up the risk tolerance questionnaire. Each are structured to give your AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust relationship manager and the portfolio managers an understanding of who you are as an investor. Each question helps to get to know you better, your appetite for risk, your feelings about the shifts in value of your investments, what types of investments you have made in the past, your time horizons, and what you feel your level of knowledge is when it comes to investments. The last part of the risk tolerance questionnaire, additional investment notes, gives you the opportunity to go beyond the questions that the risk tolerance questionnaire asks. Every AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust client has specific needs. This gives you the chance to offer us specific details on your future plans, travel bucket list, grandchildren's education, working after retirement, or spouse plans for working after retirement. You can define anything that will help us create your optimal portfolio. Here we see a sample client portfolio submitted to us. Mr. Puller has given AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust this information to be used as part of the review process. You can submit copies of your brokerage statements, a spreadsheet you have created to track your investments. This kind of detail will allow our system to determine the makeup of individual mutual funds, ETFs, single equities, or fixed income holdings. The completed portfolio review is generated when we combine your risk tolerance questionnaire, your current portfolio, your defined goals, and information from the additional investment notes. In some cases, conversations that you have had with your relationship manager and our portfolio managers will also be part of the portfolio review so that we can completely fulfill our fiduciary responsibilities to you. The completed portfolio review is the finished product blending the art and science of portfolio construction. No two portfolio reviews are alike, as no two AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust clients have the exact same concept of an ideal portfolio. Here is an example of some of the holdings in our sample portfolio in a pie chart format. We break down these equity positions by percentages and type: large cap, growth, large cap blend, mid cap, small cap, fixed income, hedge funds, cash and money market funds. Here is the risk tolerance questionnaire that the client has submitted as part of his investment management proposal. We can see here that he owns more than 30% of his home. He is not going to work during retirement, and he would be somewhat concerned about various shifts on a negative basis to his portfolio. He has invested in mutual funds, but not individual equities or individual fixed income interests. And also, he has no intent to withdraw any funds to provide for his current lifestyle, and he needs these in 2 to 5 years. As they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Here we see that the recommended AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust portfolio for Mr. Puller is the AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust Income Portfolio. His risk tolerance questionnaire has determined that a portfolio for him should be constructed so that it is moderately conservative. In this case, a portfolio heavily weighted in fixed income, the majority in investment-grade bonds. The weighting in short-term fixed income securities takes into account the rising interest rate environment and expected higher coupons that will be offered by markets to replace maturing debt issues. On the graph on the left, we see the Monte Carlo analysis for Mr. Puller's investments. The graph on the right shows the recommended AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust portfolio. The 1,000 random simulations run in the analysis program takes into account many random variables that could affect the returns on investment portfolio: interest rates, inflation, natural disasters which interrupt supply chains, currency fluctuations, fiscal policies both domestically and internationally are a few of the variables which can be factored in. The previous slide gave us a graphic representation of the possible gains of loss over a period of time. Here we see side-by-side comparisons of Mr. Puller's current investments and the recommended portfolio from AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust. Mr. Puller does take on a bit more risk when compared to the AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust portfolio, 5.3 versus 4.78. Given the level of risk involved, Mr. Puller does not see a significant reward for taking on additional risk. Only in the outlying scenarios does he gain over the AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust with lower risk. The AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust also produces a higher ending value without taking on additional risk. What we can also see here is that the minimum ending values for reduced risk are approximately the same. Mr. Puller's current investments would have a minimum ending value of $1.59. The AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust portfolio, $1.48. When we take a look at the risk versus the reward, the incremental gain is not sufficient to justify the risk taken. Harry Markowitz is considered the father of the efficient frontier portfolio theory. The efficient frontier is the set of optimal portfolios that offers the highest expected return for a defined level of risk or the lowest level of risk for expected return. In May of 2018, when this portfolio analysis was run, we can see that the AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust income portfolio is not too far away from the start of the risk axis, nor too far from the base of the return axis. This position on the efficiency frontier helps to conclude there is a good balance between risk and reward in the AAFMAA income portfolio, matching Mr. Puller's desire for income while limiting the risks. We can see that Mr. Puller's portfolio is higher on the risk basis as well as the reward basis, but does not get any major incremental gain versus the AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust portfolio with less risk. Here we see a portfolio snapshot breaking down the list of components of the AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust Income Fund. The Morningstar Equity Style box vertical axis defines large, mid-size, and small cap. The horizontal, the stock's value and growth characteristics. The fixed income style box defines interest rate sensitivity on the horizontal axis and the credit quality on the vertical axis. The purpose of the portfolio review is not to criticize nor pass judgment on your past investment choices. The purpose is to help each client visualize if the investment decisions made in the past still fall in line with your appetite for risk, what your goals are for your money now versus when the investment was made, and changes to your time horizons. As time marched on, the need for preservation of capital will have changed as well. The Monte Carlo analysis will show you options for mitigating risk that you might not have taken into account when you made the investment decisions in the past. The investment policy statement that you'll enter into with AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust is the contract between AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust and you, the member. It defines how your money will be invested. The investment policy statement lays out your objectives, goals, and the specific individual guidelines that you and AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust have agreed upon for the investment of your money. Each IPS is reviewed annually or more frequently as your needs and goals change or market condition warrants. The ongoing dialogue you have with your AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust relationship manager will demonstrate the focus we place on each AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust client. The question on many of your minds, no doubt, is how much does an extensive evaluation like this cost? The answer may indeed surprise you. The AAFMAA Wealth Management Trust Portfolio Review is a free service that we provide to you. There are no costs of any kind involved with this service. We want our clients to be fully educated on what they are doing now, what may happen to their investments in the future, and what AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust can do for them going forward. AAFMAA Wealth Management and Trust are not market timers. We are here to provide you with growth of your assets with an eye towards the mitigation of risk whenever possible. Thank you very much. I hope this has provided information to you. I'll take any questions you have right now.
Thank you so much, Matt. That was incredibly informative. We did have a few questions come in during the presentation, so let's address those now. Who can get this free portfolio review?
Anyone who is an honorably discharged member of the armed services or an AAFMAA member, whether you be Guard or Reserve, is entitled to have this portfolio review done for them.
Great. Are there other AAFMAA Wealth Management Trust portfolio recommendations that might be different than what you have talked about?
Yes, there would be. We will also provide with you something that will sit on each side of the results of your risk tolerance questionnaire. You might have a growth and income risk tolerance questionnaire, but you'd like to know what is potentially possible with a portfolio that is more dedicated to equities. On the other side, you may see that you don't want to reduce or take as much risk and look at an all fixed income portfolio. The purpose here is just to demonstrate what this might look like, but we will provide you multiple scenarios for you to consider.
What type of accounts can be analyzed with the portfolio review?
All type of investment accounts, IRAs, Roth IRAs, stock portfolio, trading accounts, thrift savings plan accounts from either military service or civilian government service can be analyzed within our system. The only thing we cannot do for you are 529 accounts.
Great, thank you so much. If we didn't fully answer your question or you think of another question later, please reach out to us at wealthmanagement@afma.com or to Matt directly. We'll go ahead and break here for now, but please don't hesitate to reach out to us for assistance whenever you need it. We do this every day for our military community, and it is our pleasure. This weekend, you'll receive a follow-up email with instructions on how to access the recording of this presentation. And you can always register for future webinars and review past webinars at afma.com/webinars. Speaking of future webinars, be sure to join us in 2 weeks when our team at AFMA Mortgage Services presents. If you found this information useful, we encourage you to please share it with your friends and family. Our membership grows stronger every year because you introduce those in your military community to AFMA. Thank you again to everyone listening for joining us today. We look forward to our next opportunity to assist you. You're all done.